Hey, Box Elder Bees, this is Mr. Smith from the counseling office. I'm here today to try and help you prepare for the ACT, specifically talk with you about some test-taking strategies, things that you can employ as you take the ACT that might be helpful to you to maximize your ACT score and get the best ACT score that you possibly can get. As you know, we do encourage you to take the ACT multiple times. This way you can maybe maximize your opportunity to get the best score and help you to prepare for the coming opportunities that you have in terms of college applications, admissions, scholarships, things of that nature. So specifically today we're going to talk about some test-taking strategies, and hopefully these will be helpful for you. I have here a list of strategies that you can use to prepare and help get yourself in the best position to do well on the ACT as best you possibly can. So let's dive right in and let's talk about these test-taking strategies. You can always refer back to this list as you prepare. Kind of check those off, make sure you got everything, all your ducks in a row, and that you are ready to go. So first of all, let's talk about preparing ahead of time for the test physically. One of the most important things that you can do is get everything ready to go, number one, for the test. Gather up all the information, all the items that you might need to take with you to the test so that you have what you need to take the test. For example, make sure that you have an approved calculator that has batteries that are fresh, that are ready to go, so that you don't run out of batteries or your calculator malfunctions, and that you have that ready to go when you take the math test, maybe even the science test, depending on whenever they let you use your calculator. Make sure that you have your test admissions ticket. You should have gotten that when you registered for the ACT. They should have sent that to you. Your ticket has the time and place for the ACT, where to check in, where the ACT is going to be held, and what time you need to be there. So make sure you know exactly where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, so that you don't have that anxiety of being late or not being sure where you're supposed to be. Obviously, you've always heard, and we reiterate, that you should make sure you have your number 2 pencils ready to go. Have 2 or 3 number 2 pencils sharpened and ready with good erasers, so that when you're taking the test, you don't have to worry about your pencil breaking and how to get another one. And make sure that those erasers are good, so that if you do make a mistake or you do change your mind on an answer, you can erase that mark thoroughly, and it doesn't get picked up by the machine that scores your test. Also, you want to make sure that you have a current photo ID with you when you go. So make sure you have all this information set and ready to go the night before you are planning to take the ACT. Number 2, we mentioned this just a minute ago, double check your registration time and location. Make sure you know exactly where you are going the morning of the ACT. Know which door of the building is going to be open for you to go into to check in for the ACT. Don't want you to be stressed out because you come to the building and there's a locked door, or you're trying to find where you're going. That can raise your stress levels and maybe impact how well you do on the ACT. Make sure you get to the testing center early. If the testing starts at 8 a.m., make sure you're there by 7:30, so that in case there is anything that you need to deal with ahead of time, you have time to do that and you're not late for the testing. So make sure you're there 20 to 30 minutes early. Get yourself settled in, take some deep breaths, and do some relaxation type things to get yourself ready to go. Number 3 is one that we always hear about. Make sure you get plenty of sleep the night before the test. This is important. Make sure that you are well rested and that your brain is rested, that your body is rested and ready to go, so that you don't have that fatigue factor coming into play here. Now, with that said, make sure that you don't change your routine drastically. If you generally don't go to bed until 10:30, 11 o'clock, don't go to bed at 8. That's not going to work for you. Go to bed pretty close to the normal time. Try to get the normal time of sleep, maybe just a tad extra, so that you're well rested. And along with that, make sure that when you get up, that you are comfortable. Wear comfortable clothes that are not going to be binding or are going to be distracting to you. Make sure you eat something before you go to the test. If you generally eat breakfast, a big breakfast, eat a big breakfast. If you generally don't eat a big breakfast, eat what you normally do, so that you're not feeling out of sorts, so to speak, that you're not doing anything normal. But make sure you do eat something. The test can be fairly taxing and can take a little bit of time, and you won't have much time to eat in the test, if at all. So make sure you have something to eat. As you get started, number 5 there, take a deep breath. Again, get yourself calm. Take those relaxation techniques. Breathe in, breathe out. Make sure you're keeping your attitude positive. Hey, you're gonna kill it on this test. Life is gonna be good. This is just a test, and I haven't seen too many people really have real negative consequences from taking the ACT test. But you want to go in, make sure you're comfortable, make sure you have everything in place, visualize your happy place before the test begins so that you are ready to go when the test does begin. Number 6, listen carefully to the instructions. The instructions are read to you on how to take the test, what you need to be doing with your answer booklets and your answer sheets. And if you have questions or you're not understanding the instructions, make sure you ask the questions for clarification. Make sure you understand exactly what's being asked of you when you're taking the ACT test. So please do not hesitate to ask those questions so that you understand where you're what you're doing and where you're going. Focus your attention entirely on your work. Try to eliminate any of those distractions that might be out there. Focus on the ACT, focus on what you're doing, and make sure that that is the one thing that you're worried about on the ACT test. All right, we're making good progress here, so hang in there. Number 8, position your answer sheet right next to your test booklet so you can mark your answers quickly and accurately. This is really important that you stay on your test answer sheet, that you stay on the question that you are trying to answer in the test booklet. It's very easy to potentially get off track, maybe get off one number or 2 numbers when you're answering one question and putting a different answer down on another one. So make sure that you are answering the question on your test marker that you're answering that you're trying to answer from the booklet. So make sure that your answer sheet is accurate with the test. This is one that people struggle with. Number 9 is make sure you read each question and read the possible responses completely before answering. Sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves. We anticipate the answer or we anticipate the question. Make sure that you read the question completely. If you think you missed something, reread the question so that you know that you're answering the question the way it was worded. If you're not sure, go back and take a look and then give it your best answer and then move on. Be sure to answer every question. There is no penalty for guessing on the ACT. Your score does not reflect answers that are incorrect. It only scores the correct answers, and so it does not hurt to guess on the ACT. So make sure you answer every single question, even if you're running out of time. You might decide just to, hey, these last few questions I'm going to just guess. Pace yourself. We do encourage you to take some practice tests before you go so you know the timing of the ACT. Each ACT test is timed. There is a time limit. So make sure that you're making progress through the test and you're not spending too much time on any one question, and that you have plenty of time to complete the test as you move along. If you finish before time is up, make sure you go back. Maybe review the questions you weren't sure about or that you had a question about. Double check your answers and make sure that you were on track with your test answer sheet and your test booklet. It does not hurt to use all of the time. Don't worry about that neighbor who finished up 30 minutes ahead of you or 15 minutes before you did. You take the time that you need to be able to do well on the ACT. I do encourage you to use the entire time so that you are giving every answer, every question a good look, and that you are giving it the best answer you possibly can find. So those are some general test-taking tips that are available. I encourage you to use those as you go through the ACT. They will be helpful for you. Let's talk about maybe some specific test-taking strategies here on our little list here. So again, read each question thoroughly and make sure you understand what is being asked. Again, it's very easy to anticipate a question or anticipate the answer and miss a key word in there that changes the way that question would be answered. And so make sure that you do understand the question well. Read all the answers provided before you choose the answer, and choose the best answer that is provided there. So sometimes there will be answers that are very similar. So take a look at all of the answers before you mark your answer and choose the best answer that you believe is correct. One of the main strategies that people use when they're taking a multiple choice test like the ACT, it's very good strategy, is you can go through as you read those answers, you can eliminate the obviously wrong answers. You know, no, that can't be it. That definitely is not it. I know it's not that one. You can just, by the process of elimination, you can take those out, and then that, if you do have to guess on an answer or you're making your best guess, it gives you a better percentage of getting the answer correct. So make sure you eliminate those obviously answers that are wrong. Again, and here's one of the testing strategies that I always like to bring up, is when you are doing, when you are guessing, or you are marking an answer that you're not sure about, be consistent in the choice that you use, okay? Don't sailboat your answer sheet. Don't choose a different letter every single time. Be consistent. Always use B, or always use C, or the two middle answers as you do that, because that will help you to maximize your opportunities to get the answer correct as a gamble, so to speak. Okay. Number 5, don't spend too much time on any one question. If you find yourself being bogged down on a question and you're just kind of banging your head against the wall there on a question, it does not hurt to move on. Go ahead and leave that one for later. As you finish up the test and you have extra time, you can always come back and spend time on that test question. You probably want to spend 10 or 15 seconds per question, per answer on average for those questions. You do have a little bit of extra time, that's on average. So if you do need to take a little bit of extra time, go ahead. But if it's one that you you just can't get, go ahead and move on to the next question. Come back to it if you have time. Number 6, answer, it seems obvious, but answer the easy questions first and return to the harder ones if there's time later. Just answer the ones you do absolutely know. Again, you are being scored on the correct answers that you get and not the ones that you get wrong. So make sure you answer all those questions that you do absolutely know for sure. Answer those easy ones first. Number 7, make sure you have a legal calculator and know how to use that calculator. Oftentimes students will get a real fancy calculator that they're not sure how to use, or they have no idea how to use. That's not going to be helpful for you. Make sure you know the functions of the calculator and make sure you know how to use them correctly so that you can use them correctly on the test. And again, if you have any questions about your calculator, whether it is a legal calculator or not, ACT has a list of calculators that are not legal for you to use. You can always go to your math teacher and show them the calculator that you'd like to be using on the ACT, and they'll have a really good idea whether or not that calculator is legal for the ACT or not. So if you don't have a legal calculator, you won't be able to use it on the test. That could put you at a disadvantage. So make sure you have a legal calculator and, again, know how to use it. So this, very quickly, that was a list of strategies that you can be using to help you maximize your opportunity here on the ACT test. So kind of take a look at those, implement those strategies as you go through the ACT. And again, like I said, many of these strategies can be used on other testing opportunities in other settings. So kind of keep those in mind. We do encourage you, like I said before, to take the ACT multiple times. Again, the colleges, universities, and technical schools will use your best score, whether it's the first time or the 5th time. Typically, we recommend you take the ACT 2 to 3 times on average to maximize your score and get yourself ready to go.